Hello and welcome to the 141st installment of the Synapse Misfire Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, joined by our other host, Jordan.
That's me, baby.
That's him.
And that's him. That's me. That's him.
Jordan,
Yes.
this is a show.
Mm-hmm.
And shows generally, for wide access, are put on several different platforms, including this very show.
Oh, okay. Yep.
What are those platforms, Jordan?
You can find us on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify, Pocket Cast, and the RSS feed, which is all linked below. And if you wish to contact us, please do. You can do so via email, synapsemisfire@pm.me. Send us your comments, your questions, your concerns, and most importantly, your death threats. There's also Instagram and TikTok linked below, which may by now be revitalized or maybe in the process of being revitalized. And YouTube comment section, and there's a Spotify Q&A. And there's plenty of other means. Just look in the description or show notes. Contact us. Send us something. Tell us what to do. We'll do it.
Send us money.
Money.
Like cash in a box, a lot of cash in a box to my house specifically.
You'd have to give them the address.
The USPS will not take notice of this at all. They will not find anything suspicious.
No.
They will not. They'll just think, oh, someone is giving a generous cash gift to this nice man.
To Christopher, yep.
And they won't think that it's anything like illegal. They won't seize this money and send police to my house.
Who is Christopher Synapse? Who the fuck is that? Weird name on this guy.
So, we've just gotten out of the hunch of not recording for 16 years. And then in the course of that 16 years, just being like, fuck, man.
Yeah, we went from recording so many episodes in advance that we didn't record for 4 or 5 weeks to then being like, I don't want to record.
Yeah. So, you know what? Now we're back on it.
Yeah, we're feeling a bit rejuvenated. The light is at the end of the tunnel. Okay, we see where we want to get and how we can get there, and it kind of excites us. It gets me a little excited.
The light, where we have some things in the works, and I'm excited for there to be like a strong like 2.0 on this show.
Yes.
And
yes,
we gotta bring it. We gotta be like, on it.
Yeah.
Every week. But Jordan,
what?
Speaking of people who aren't on it, I didn't write really anything. So what else have you done other than go to PAX?
I've played a lot of games, truthfully. I've been playing a lot of just stuff on the deck.
Which ones, man?
Just the stuff on the deck, brother.
The stuff on the deck. He's playing the games on the Steam Deck.
So, I've just been playing on the Steam Deck. That's been like my main handheld, my main console, my main gaming machine for a long time now. We all know this. I've talked about it many times. But one of the games I played that is probably most memorable, that was actually a really fun time, was I played the new Spongebob game.
Okay.
It's titled SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Cosmic Shake. That's what it's called.
Right.
And basically, the plot of this game is SpongeBob and Patrick stumble across this mermaid, and she's like, hey, check out these antiquities I'm selling. And they buy a wand, like a bubble wand. So they start blowing bubbles. And little do they know, there's some secrets with this bubble wand. It's a magic bubble wand. Mm-hmm. So they're making wishes. They're like, I wish Squidward was a bitch. And they blow a bubble, right?
And then nothing changed.
Right? So they're like, oh, shit, it doesn't work. Okay. So then they're like, I wish I had a massive dick. So he blows the bubble and then he has a massive dick. No, that doesn't happen. But they make a bunch of goofy wishes.
I see. Okay.
And they basically destroy the fabric of reality in the process. It was kind of like a game that seemed to hop on the like multiverse trend at the time, but it did it in its own way. And it's really cool how it splits it up. So basically they blow some bubbles and Patrick's like, I wish I could fly like a balloon. And then he turns into a balloon and like some shit like that happens. So you're basically SpongeBob and you have your partner in crime, Patrick. He's a balloon. And it's basically a action adventure platformer where you're working with this mermaid. And she's like, hey, you have to go to this realm and find your friend here and do this. And she's basically manipulating you into collecting jellies so she can, like, unleash her powers or some shit. But in the process, you're saving your friends. So honestly, my favorite thing about the game was it was just a nostalgia trip, pretty much. Like, it's very clearly designed for kids. It's very easy. You could probably honestly play it one-handed for the most part and be okay.
That's how I play a lot of games.
Yeah, I can, especially those hentai ones.
Especially games like fuck, nothing comes to mind.
Fucking what was that one?
I was trying to think of like
Hitler.
I was trying to think of like a game with like with several big beefy men in it, but I just couldn't.
Oh, Gears of War.
Yeah.
Dude, remember that game that popped up on like the Steam new and trending, the like Setzi Hitler one?
Yeah.
Or Setzi Adolf. That shit just
Yeah.
appears. That's scary that people even look at that. But anyway, so
It's scary.
just like deleting it from the archives. Fuck. It's a big nostalgia trip. So like you get like outfits throughout the game that are all tied to like past episodes. Like you get Oonga Boonga SpongeBob, the fucking caveman one. And it's funny, you go through like a realm and he's speaking like he does in the episode. So it does little cool stuff like that. It was a really fun game. Fairly short. I think I beat it in like 6.8 hours or something like that. Pretty short game. So I ended up beating that and it was just a good time. Dude, the optimization on this game, it's so bad. This is a SpongeBob game that I'm not even hyperbolizing here. Made my Steam Deck not only the hottest it's ever run, close to 90 Celsius, and I've played it out on the porch in the sun, playing Metro Exodus, mind you, but also the shortest battery life of any game I've ever played.
SpongeBob, it's a fucking Bitcoin miner, bro.
Honestly, it could be. Like, I will show you.
Oh my god.
I will show you.
Remember how on the Switch they released a
Cooking
Mama game that turns out it was a fucking Bitcoin miner?
Yeah, that happened. So let me show you two games side by side, Chris. So here is a genuine in-game screenshot. It's hard to see, but you can get the point of the Callisto Protocol. Okay?
Right.
That's another game that I played in the Steam Deck.
That looks good.
Here's a genuine, let me see if I can find one, screenshot of... Here we go. Here's a genuine screenshot in-game of the SpongeBob game. Right? You can see there's a clear disparity in graphics, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Right? Like, the Callisto Protocol, it's a little bit more realistic, right? I would get, again, no hyperbole, I will fucking put screenshots up, like, I would get about an hour and a half on the Callisto Protocol.
Right, okay.
And about an hour on SpongeBob. On battery.
SpongeBob's no joke,
And
bro.
my Steam Deck was cooler with Callisto Protocol than it was with SpongeBob.
That's fucking insane.
So, but yeah, back to the point at hand, I guess. It's badly optimized. Now, I will admit, SpongeBob did run at like 60 FPS, but I'd locked it at 40 because it was a little more stable, and Callisto was locked at 30. So there's that. But again, look at the disparity in graphics. The SpongeBob game is pretty funny, though, because one of the things you can do is you glide and you use like the Krusty Krab pizza, as you can see.
I see.
And occasionally he'll say the line, he'll go, Krusty Krab pizza, like that, whatever. And it's pretty cool. Like little things like that. It was a fun time.
So it's like a greatest hits.
Pretty much.
It's like a greatest hits album.
Pretty much, yeah. And it was a very good time. I recommend the game, especially if you get it on a on a sale. So I bought the first one, the Battle for Bikini Bottom, the one that was like from early 2000s.
Yeah, like
they
the
remade
remastered
it.
one.
Yeah, so I ended up buying that on the Steam sale because it went on sale for like $7, and I was like, I had enough fun with this one that I'm gonna give that one a go. So it was a very good time. I recommend it. But if you play it on Steam Deck, good luck with the battery life. It is just so poorly optimized, man. It's so bad.
Fucking SpongeBob was too much for the Steam Deck.
Dude, honestly. But in regards to Callisto Protocol, the reason I brought that up specifically was because I ended up playing that. I had bought it on launch day, and it didn't work, and it was bad. I talked mad shit about it on the show. And I bought it on the Steam Deck once I saw it was actually Steam Deck verified now. And, it runs about as well as you could expect a modern AAA game to on the Steam Deck. It's 30 FPS with occasional dips into like 28 for brief moments. Like,
right.
It suits that game well enough because it's like Dead Space. It's very slow, over the shoulder, very methodical movement animation and all that. So it fits. It's not like it's a high octane like fucking Forza where you have to make these split second reactions and stuff. It's very slow. The melee combat is kind of cool in the game. It's very simple. It's like left stick left or right to dodge back to a block and then just hit with a heavy or light attack and like mix and match. So it's very, very awesome from an animation standpoint. It does what I love in Red Dead 2 does, where it's like the animation has a purpose, for better or worse. Like in Red Dead, you don't just loot a building by going in and hitting a button and then like objects fly at you. Arthur opens every single drawer, every single cabinet, pulls out every individual item, like things like that. So for better or worse, it does that, and I really enjoy that personally. I love the very realistic movements and animations. Like I find that honestly just as important as like general gameplay feel. Like if you have a really shoddy character,
I think it kind of adds like the last like finishing detail.
Yes,
because it's like a game can look great, but if it's janky, it's going to take people away from the game.
Yeah, like let's put it this way. Think about running up a set of stairs, Chris. I'm sure you probably haven't done that very recently.
No, I'm sedentary. I don't move ever, actually.
But if you think about someone booking it as fast as they can up a staircase, if you run up a staircase from a monster in this game, it looks like a person fleeing up a staircase, like heavy, high strides in their step, like trying to get up the stairs and actually make contact with the stair, not just glide up like a ramp, right? So does that. If you go down the stairs fast, you can't just sprint down the stairs. The character will do like what I would do, which is like kind of turn sideways and go like this down the stairs, like leaning back so you don't lose your balance. Does that like flawlessly. If you're fighting on a staircase, they accommodate for like the height difference. It's not perfect in that sense, but it's good enough. It does all of that stuff very well. Or like even just little shit like, oh, you're crouching below a pipe. Instead of the character just shambling along, crouching, they'll actually like reach up and pull themselves around the pipe and shit like that.
Yeah, it's like that. Like I said, it's like that last 10%.
Yeah, it's the last 10%, and it's so good. So it does that fucking beautifully. The actual gunplay is pretty cool. I like the sound of the guns. They feel a little soft. They don't give you that like, when you fire a shotgun, it's like, oh shit. You don't really get that.
Yeah.
But the sound is there. It's pretty good. The story I thought was pretty cool. It is just short though. I beat it in like 8 hours, which for a game that launched at $70 is like kind of a hard ask, in a lot of ways. But again, length isn't always everything. It depends, what do you do in that 8 hours? And I think it's fairly well paced. It is pretty good. I definitely look forward to a sequel, and they left it on like a sort of cliffhanger that was pretty interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think if someone had reservations about the game day one, it might be worth going back now, because honestly, like, a lot of the complaints were around bugs and performance, and like a lot of that seems fixed, and it is actually a pretty fun game. I know people are like kind of upset that it pirates Dead Space in like a lot of ways, but I'm like, that's kind of how they build it. They were like, this is the guy who made Dead Space. It was Glenn Schofield. Like, he made the first Dead Space.
I think it's on sale right now, too.
Yeah, that's how I bought it. I bought the on sale for like, there's like only $15 off or something. It was like 40. So if it's on sale, it's definitely worth a look at. I could see why people get upset about the whole plagiarism thing. Like, I thought they meant they plagiarized the story. It really didn't. I didn't find it to, personally. But like, the animation in the sense of when you kill an enemy, you have to walk up to them and stomp them to reveal loot. Like, that's the exact same. A lot of the containers are the same. It does, I forget what they call it. You'll probably know this. It's something well, I guess you probably wouldn't because you're more cinema than obviously gaming. But in games, they call it whatever. It's basically objects in the world that are used as indicators for the player, but they are tangible objects in that world. So instead of a health bar in the corner of the screen, there's an indicator on the back of your character that flashes depending on their health. Yeah. There's a word for it. I saw it on TikTok from a game dev, and it's the same thing where like when you pull up your map in Dead Space, instead of it going, oh, pause screen, map, your character puts their arm out and a map projects in front of them, and then you look at that. It's real world objects in the game that, do things for the player. So there's that in the game, which is pretty cool. Like, that's the same thing as Dead Space. That was part of why Dead Space was so revolutionary in 2008 or whatever. So it does that really well. It's actually a pretty fun game. Like, it actually is. It's definitely a little janky in some regards, like with the melee combat. Like, it tries to go for that, again, that very realistic animation, but then sometimes, like, animations overlap and stuff. Yeah, like, there needs to be a little bit of polish where, like, sometimes
at the end of the day, like, that even exists in, like, Red Dead, even.
Yeah.
Which is, like, I think the fit and finish on that game is pretty good, but there's times where, like, you go to just, like, grab something, and there's, like, another animation that has to go through, and you'll just, like, fucking slide around.
Yeah. Or like trying to get on your horse and also like equip a gun at the same time. It's like
yeah, and you'll like magnet to the horse.
Yeah, yep, yeah. So it does like little weird shit like that, but it's a fairly good game, and like I look forward to a sequel and some DLC. And before I talk about the last game I played, because that'll probably be a bit more in-depth discussion. But Chris, there's something you're probably gonna want to play soon, and it's not Little Kitty Big City.
Oh man, then what else? What else could it possibly be?
It's a game you've played that got updated recently.
Oh, which one, man?
God of War Ragnarok. They added New Game Plus.
Did they?
Yeah. So they added the New Game Plus, and they reworked some of the boss encounters, and then added new ones and like some other shit to it. I don't know the full onslaught, but they added some content to it.
Interesting.
That sounds like you may want to take a look at it. I'm gonna give it some time because I know you were a lot more. I don't want to say satisfied because I was perfectly satisfied with the game, but you were a lot more attached to the game than I ended up being. I was kind of like, yeah, it was a good game, but you really fell for that story and those characters.
Yeah,
and shit, so.
I do want to give it time. Like, it's a thing. Like a game like that. Like, if you do a second playthrough of a game, you can't do it like right after you do the first one.
Yeah, it only works for certain games. Like the one I was going to talk about next, the Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil lends itself well to like an immediate replay, but a lot of those heavy story games, yeah, no, you gotta let it stew. Let it stew. It's even why we didn't do a spoiler cast right after we beat it. We let it sit.
Like, it's like the Souls games. Like, you can do New Game Plus to like fucking ad nauseum. You can do like up to like New Game Plus 100 or something. And some of these fucking people, they'll just sit and replay the game over and over and over again. It gets harder every time.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And then some games, they just don't lend themselves well to it. Like Red Dead, I don't think lends itself well to an immediate playthrough. You got to let that vibe sit and stew. And then you give it like at least a month. And then you give it a replay, with a fresh set of eyes, so to speak. So, yeah, certain games lend themselves well. I was thinking of, because there's kind of like a little gap between now and like the next major releases. Not really, but kind of. There's the Sherlock Holmes game coming out in a couple of days that I already pre-ordered, which probably a mistake to pre-order because the last one was unoptimized day one, but I just really, fingers crossed that it works on the deck. And then there's Dead Island at the end of this month, and then next month there's some stuff, but like I kind of want to go back to Cyberpunk. I've been thinking about it. It's Steam Deck verified now. Like I've been giving it a thought.
Think about it. I saw Dead Island 2, like, it's coming out. I just, like, there is that specific genre and feel of a zombie game that is, it just doesn't hit the same way it used to,
Right.
Where it's not so much like the game that I'm saying is bad, it's the feel of the game that is, like, it just seems like I've been through it too many times now.
I could see it.
There was the original Dead Island. There was like Dying Light was like this a lot, where it's like first person like melee combat, and it just doesn't feel as satisfying as it used to.
Yeah.
Because you hit the zombie and it goes boom, and then it, depending on some arbitrary calculation the game does, the zombie either goes brr, or its fucking head blows up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel as good as it used to,
Yeah, definitely. There's some that do it better than others. That's a big complaint I've talked about in here about Dying Light 2 was I didn't like that they gave the fucking zombies health bars. Because I walk up with a baseball bat. If I'm in this section of the map, I'm fucking sending zombies 3 acres with a fucking swing.
And the thing with zombie games is you have an out in terms of like ramping difficulty to make the zombies die like instantly. Like you can make it so that, okay, you shoot the zombie in the head and it dies. You have an out of like, oh, well, if we do this and you alert all the zombies in the area, you make a ton of noise, then you get mobbed by a bunch of them. And that's your incentive to, not, take things a different way, perhaps.
Yeah, it's what Days Gone does, where it's like single zombies in like a small number, you can headshot each one of them. But then if you're at like the Sawmill Horde and you fucking shoot one, 600 plus zombies fly out of a building. And then you have to fucking outrun them and shoot them, and they're just like en masse, just so many zombies.
Yeah, you can do that to ramp difficulty. You don't have to just make the zombies tanky.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And then
work.
there's also the generic zombie variety, which I'm fine with, like the screamers and the fucking spitters and shit like that.
Yeah, like this one alerts the other zombies. This one fucking grabs you.
Yeah, this one spits acid at you. Like just shit like that. You know, I just think that the health bar thing in Dying Light 2 is just so annoying to me. I've been thinking about doing a new game plus on that too to like see how I really feel about the game. But fuck the health bars, dude.
If you're gonna make a zombie like a bullet sponge, do it like the Left 4 Dead 2 tanks.
Where they're big motherfuckers.
Where they're like huge and they throw shit and it looks like they would take a lot of damage.
Yeah, which
because they do.
What sucks is like Dying Light already has that and had that previously, where there was always a goon, is what they call it. It's a big fucking zombie. Usually has fucking rebar with stone on it that it swings at you. But then Dying Light 2 just added like your basic bitch fucking woman in a fucking tuxedo getting fucking 3 billion HP. So you shoot it in the face with a 12 gauge. There's no 12 gauge in the game, but you fucking blow it up with a Molotov and it's like,
Yeah, that's
my health isn't depleted.
I think that's an issue with scaling and difficulty, is not that, well, your approach has to be different. It's, no, this is going to take a lot of ammo.
Yeah.
in the sense that like this is going to deplete your resources, and that's why this enemy or this section is in the game.
Right. Which in regards to difficulty scaling, something I've noticed, I've been trying to go back to play Like a Dragon Ishin because I like fell off of it pretty hard. And I got to a point where I started to just accept defeat, so I played it on hard. And Judgment and Lost Judgment I had no problems with, but Like a Dragon I kept having issues where I was just getting wrecked by the bosses. And if you die twice in a row, it'll say, do you want to switch this fight to easy difficulty? And I've lost my pride. I'm just like, fuck it, just do it. And I noticed that not only does it, obviously, you do more damage and take less, but that's like the obvious one. But I did notice that like your attacks are way more likely to stagger enemies, which is like just another good way of scaling it too. You know, like even in zombie games, like this can get a little annoying if not done well, but like make your weapon durability, you know, less or more. Make it harder to find weapons, to find stuff to repair them. Less ammo, like shit like that. You don't have to just be like, here's the same ammo, but here's 500 more HP.
Exactly, yeah.
So
it's things like that, like status effects, and also like having it so that your attacks land easier in a lot of cases.
Right.
That's what some games do. So
faster zombies too. You can make them quicker.
Yeah.
Instead of them shambling, maybe they fucking dive at you, like, or they grab you more often, like just more shit. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of better ways to do it than, well, you have less health and take more damage.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about the prime example of that is still a good game, Resident Evil 4. I just beat that on the Steam Deck. Very good game. Fantastic remake. Honestly, probably the best remake we've ever seen.
You think so?
Yeah, like it does so much to improve on it. And also it's a feat of its own in terms of game design, where they took a lot of the levels and they incentivized you getting creative to the point where there are purposeful skips in place for people who find them or like research them to literally skip segments of the game. And they're not there because bad game design. It's the exact opposite. It's like they were purposefully put there where like you can get an angle on something to shoot like a weight, and that weight will drop and then a gate will open prematurely instead of you having to go all the way around and fight this guy and do that. There's a couple that are more so glitches as well that aren't meant to be there, but there are so many skips they added to the game and so much shit they enhanced and so much shit they cut and new stuff they added that it's just like such a fantastic remake and such a fun game, if not frustrating though. Obviously it doesn't have the tank controls anymore, but man, hard mode on that game, because I did end up beating it on hard, is fucking frustrating sometimes. You just like, because it's Resident Evil. We know how that goes. They take a lot of bullets.
Yeah.
They take so much bullets.
And that's another game that has a ton of sections in the game that are specifically meant to run you out of resources.
Yeah.
So like this, you know, you'll have a ton of ammo and stuff and be confident. And now all of a sudden there's an encounter where, okay, now you have to use all of your bullets.
Yeah.
And now you're back to square one.
Pretty much. And Resident Evil 4 is very well paced to do that, where it does that same thing. It's just like tons of ammo, no ammo. Tons of ammo, no ammo. And it's so well paced, and the story's good. And it's pretty long, too, for what it is. It's 16 hours. That's how long it took me to beat. That's like the average time to beat it. It's a fucking fantastic game. And it runs like perfectly on the Steam Deck, which is surprising. But in typical Valve fashion, it's not Steam Deck verified because it occasionally shows mouse cursors, and guess what? It never did in the entire time I played it. It never showed a mouse cursor. Meanwhile, my coworker who just bought a Steam Deck plays Teardown, which is Steam Deck verified, that he says you have to use the mouse to launch the game. So typical Steam Deck verified.
There are people reviewing these, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he said you have to use it to select the first menu option, and then you don't have to use it again. But meanwhile, Resident Evil 4, that literally launches with no issue, runs perfectly, pretty much, at locked 30 frames per second. It isn't verified because it says occasional mouse cursor appearance. I never saw it in my 16.4 hour playthrough. Not a single time. Nor did the game ever crash.
Right.
Nor did it ever freeze. Nor did it ever have an issue with audio. Like, it ran perfectly. And it's optimized pretty well. It's not optimized nearly as well as Resident Evil 8, truthfully, because I ran the DLC Shadows of Rose at like almost max settings, 40 frames per second. This was on like medium at 30, and Shadows of Rose lasted like 2 hours on battery. This was like an hour and 40. So it's not nearly as optimized as that, truthfully. It also could just be down to level design and like number of enemies and shit like that. But because Shadows of Rose was a horror expansion, this is fucking Resident Evil 4. It's the action one of the series besides 5. So it could just be down to that. But yeah, and it's not verified. So it's marked as playable.
I don't know. I think speaking on like action or like horror shooter survival type games is like, I think the gun takes you out of it, the horror aspect of it.
In most cases, yeah. It can be done in certain ways, but like think of Outlast. That is horror.
Yeah.
Like Outlast is horror.
You can't do anything, but that also bothers me because like instinctively as a person, what are you doing?
Yeah.
In a situation like that?
I want to start punching. That's the problem. Like Outlast needs like a fucking nut shot button where you get grabbed and you kick him in the nuts.
The big dude picks you up and you just fucking punch him in the face.
Could you imagine how comical that'd be? Billy fucking picks you up. He said, "I'm gonna rip you in half," and you just poke him in the eyes.
If you do a fucking Three Stooges bit on him, you fucking pop him in the eyes.
He goes, "Oh fuck!
Oh, what the fuck, man!"
And then you just run away. It's a tough balance, truthfully. It really is. Because, yeah, like, if Chris picked me up right now, I'm not going to go, "Oh, no, help me." I'm going to punch him in the face as best as I can.
You got to do, like, the Outlast thing. Oh, jeez, this sucks, man.
Pointing the fucking handy cam in my face, yeah. Or in your face, yeah.
This sucks. Hang on, let me
pop out the batteries, yeah.
Put a new battery in there. Sorry, what were you saying?
Now I got my night vision again.
And
Outlast, for context, by the way, is one of my favorite horror games ever. It's so good.
I think
it is comical.
It is. It gets props because of what it did for the genre.
It kind of revitalized it, and for YouTube playthroughs.
The point I was trying to make though is like, if I was in that situation, what am I doing? Is I'm going to a scary abandoned asylum. I'm not going there without a gun.
Yeah, that's
without fucking question.
Or
the
like
second
something.
I see some like crazy guy there, I'm like, okay, that guy went this way. I know kind of the direction he's going. I have two options. Option A, which is the option I'm going to take most of the time. I'm getting the fuck out of there. Option B, I'm gonna like try to like sweep the area just to make sure that like he's not gonna fucking get me from a doorway or something.
Yeah.
But in games where you have that, I was like, oh, this is the scary. This is the scary. Okay, I have a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing that like Resident Evil 8 did, where it's like 7 was a lot scarier than 8, You still had a gun in 7, but it was just like the way it was paced, the way you had ammo, the characters you fought, and it came down to them really being a bullet sponge. And it was more like the ambiance that sort of was terrifying, the environment. 8 is like, as soon as you get the shotgun,
it's over.
I just walk around corridors with the shotgun.
Yeah.
Like,
and the ammo and stuff you get is generous enough to where you can survive most encounters, and you can even waste bullets in a lot of cases.
Yeah. The thing that the one part of Resident Evil 8 that gets props for being kind of genuine is the fucking baby scene.
Yeah.
Because you lose your guns, which, okay, that could happen if you fucking got knocked out. Someone takes your guns, right? But also, it's not like it's just some guy chasing you. It's like a demon. So you're not going to punch that in the face, you know?
Exactly.
I would do what Ethan did. I would run, you know? So that's the one part that's realistic. But then as soon as you get your shotgun back, it's like, oh no, big spooky guy. Check this out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you fucking blow a 14-inch hole in their chest.
What the fuck you think I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
And that's my bottom line with horror movies too. Think about it. The scare in a lot of horror movies, the scary, is often the cop out they use is a child or an old lady. That's the scary.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two least threatening individuals I can think of.
Yeah, if a child came at me with a knife, I'm dying drop kicking it.
Yeah. What is this thing fucking... What is this thing? 15 pounds? Fucking...
Also, where is the child even generating enough strength to swing a knife in a way that would do any sort of damage?
It's not...
It takes a good... I don't know if you know this, Chris. It would take a good amount of force to impale someone with a knife. Yeah, I don't think a 3-year-old is going to...
Yeah, it's not... Children are scary. Old people are not scary.
They just push them and they're like, oh, my hip.
I refuse to be scared by a person who is one slip in the shower away from perishing, being in the newspaper.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. Yeah, and no one in those movies, no one really ever truly uses their environment. If someone busted through the door right now, actual weapons aside, I'd be picking up these lights and just start swinging them.
Yeah, no one's using
a chair or
Yeah, no, you don't see oh shit, fucking what's a movie? Michael Myers is here, and someone fucking cracks a chair over his back.
Yeah,
it's fuck you, idiot.
Or every time they do it, and then they look at him huh?
Yeah, they sit there, go.
And then he turns around and stabs them. No, I'd be stomping on his head.
He's got a knife, bro. I hit him with the chair. I cracked the chair across his back. He's gonna at least stumble at the very least.
Yeah.
And that's your opportunity to get as far away as possible.
Or start beating his ass. And if he falls down, just start stomping on his head.
Yeah, you start fucking curb stomping him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's scary.
I think it'd be really funny to make a realistic horror movie someday for the channel where it's just you and I and this fucking guy breaks in and we're just we look at each other is this supposed to be scary? And then he tries to charge us and we just beat his fucking ass.
It's it's one of those killer slasher type movies where the killer shows up and
he
starts approaching us with a knife and we just fucking light him up.
Or it begins and he calls and he's like, I'm behind you. And I'm like, no, you're not. I looked behind me 30 you're not fucking there. And he's
not there, bro.
He's like, fuck. And then,
shit.
And then he's like, I'm going to come in through the front door. And then I just cock the shotgun. And he goes, I'm here. And gets blasted.
Okay, bet. Walk in right now.
Yeah, I just think it'd be really funny. Or he just goes to attack me and I'm holding his arms and you just walk up behind him and put him in a sleeper hold. You just take him out.
I put him in a grapple.
You're just holding him back. I'm just punching the shit out of him.
That's why you can't make your enemies corporeal because I'm gonna fucking shoot it. It's not that. If it's a ghost, that's another story.
That's it. Yeah, if it's a haunting where it's a spirit whipping you around the room and shit.
That's if it's a non-corporeal threat. I can't beat the shit out of a ghost. I can't shoot a ghost. But what I can do is shoot literally any other physical object.
Yeah, pretty much. Imagine there's a scene, we get in the car, all right, we're going to drive out of here. And the guy, walks up to the window with a knife. We're like, what the fuck are you going to do?
What are you
we're
planning
in the car,
on doing?
You, open the door and push him over with it.
smash him with the car door. It's okay, see ya.
Fucking deuces, bro.
That's
Guy's like, oh man.
That's a thing that I enjoy about. There's like a particular trope that's rising in like internet horror of people or entities that look like people but are not, and they could be very convincing people, but they are not, and that's what messes with me, because it's Jordan. It's just Jordan right there. But what if Jordan was actually evil?
Well, have you ever seen the movie Us by, I think, is it Jordan Peele? No, the other guy.
No, I think it's another Jordan Peele movie.
Oh, that is him. Is he the shorter one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Keegan-Michael, whatever. He's the tall one, the bald one. Yeah, Jordan Peele's movie Us. That's what's so horrifying about it. Is the whole plot of that movie is it's this family, and then suddenly doppelgangers of them show up and just like start attacking. And they've got that sort of presence, you know?
And you're never 100% sure.
Who's who?
So, like, if it's, spooky killer guy, okay, I'm pretty sure this guy has malicious intent. I'm going to immediately be on guard and attack this person. Yeah. I'm going to be proactive here. Yeah. I'm not going to let this guy approach me, swing his big knife at me. I'm going to fucking empty a magazine into him. Yeah. If it's like, oh, this is my pal Jordan, and we just have a normal conversation as if nothing is wrong, my guard is down, I'm at ease, and then all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden he just like punches a hole through my chest.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing about that movie that's so good, is like a lot of times when it shows them, you don't recognize at first who's evil. The only thing they do to show you, which is much more obvious than like your example, is the evil ones can't talk. Their presence is there. So like a lot of times they're just doing stuff to blend in, but they're not talking. So you're like, But like, yeah, it would literally be like, yeah, we're like hanging out, and I'm just like oddly quiet. You're like, what's going on here? And then like, yeah, it ends up being some sort of sinister presence. That's definitely way more terrifying.
Or I like when, I've only seen this a couple of times where they build in like that aspect of it. A horror series I've talked about before, but I want to give another shout out to, is Vita Carnis. It's about like, these little like creatures, and they've just inexplicably shown up, and there's like different forms of this creature, but there's one in particular called a mimic that looks like it's humanoid, but it's taller and has like long fingers, and it's all red. And but
I think I remember talking about
that. They kind of eventually, as they get older, start to like more assimilate with people, and they feed exclusively on people, and they can start to assimilate where like they'll put on clothes and they'll try to blend in, and they could even blend in like kind of normally and convincingly, as long as you don't really look at them.
Yeah, like if it was just me to you, I'm like, oh hey Chris.
Like if you walk past them on the street, you'd be like, that's just a normal guy. Yeah. Right? But if you like really were like, he's looking a little strange. Yeah. But they do put that in. A lot of the storytelling is done through like documentaries. So there's one that I watched recently. It was like the Mimic Survival Guide, something to that effect. And in it, the documentary portion is like, they put like, if you have a weapon, you can use it. And it's just the depiction is a guy shooting the mimic. Because that's, again, bottom line. I don't care what it is. The gun. Yeah. I see a fucking humanoid figure that I think, oh, this thing might eat me. Gun. Yeah. And they build that into the lore of like, yes, people are going to shoot this thing, and that's going to be a counter to what to what I'm presenting right now. So let me build that in. It's very resilient, but you can shoot and kill it.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, you said it. Like, if we went outside, right? We're doing the Fireside podcast, and you're like, what the fuck is that thing? And like Slender Man comes walking towards us. I'd be like, hang on a second. Check this out.
See, Slender Man's an interesting one because he's a mix. He's kind of corporeal, but kind of not.
Yeah, he's humanoid, but there's something extra there. There's always something.
Like, because he can teleport. So maybe it's like a Minecraft Enderman. where any projectiles can't hit him because he'll teleport out of the way automatically.
Bro's got that dog in him, dude.
He's got that dog in him.
He's teleporting.
Remember when those two teenage girls murdered their friend because
they thought Slenderman? Yeah.
Yeah, because of Slenderman.
What was the reasoning again? Slenderman told them to?
It was like, Slenderman told me to do this so we could live in the woods in a house with him or something. They wanted to be friends of Slenderman. And then they made like a movie about Slenderman, and the family of that one girl was like, "Hey, maybe don't release this." And they were like, "Okay." And then a couple of years later, they released it anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's like, it depends on the messaging. So, like, obviously the problem with those, first of all, the Slenderman movie, I watched it. It was R-rated. And it didn't have
any good?
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It was a long time ago. It was like 3 years ago, so I don't remember the fucking exact plot. But
that'll be our next watch after the Mario movie. We'll watch that.
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty decent horror movie. They didn't show a lot of him. It was very obscured sort of thing, more silhouettes and like distant shots and stuff. It was good though. I did enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, you can't. I understand like the parents' perspective or their family's perspective of like, this got our child killed, but like, not technically. Someone misinterpreting something and being fucking stupid got your child killed. Like, does that mean we shouldn't show NASCAR because my cousin, fucking went in a drag race and died? Well, no, it's two totally different things. Like, I understand Slenderman influenced it, but like, that shit happens all the time, Like, Call of Duty doesn't start
people
wars.
Be murdering people,
Yeah, like there was something else wrong with those kids to do that, There's plenty of creepypastas out there. Like, that shit just, it's not one-to-one. You don't just watch or read a creepypasta and then start killing people. Like,
I don't know. As someone who was at that time an avid creepypasta enjoyer, I myself had several conversations with the Slenderman. Him and I, we were buddies.
You guys go way back, yeah.
Yeah, we go way back. Like, we would hang out. We would eat cheeseburgers.
How does he cut his fingernails? I gotta know.
He doesn't.
Oh, okay.
He just lets them grow.
So he's like that lady with like the 13-foot fingernails.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. But eventually they like fall off. It's like
molting.
It's like deer antlers.
Oh,
they just fall off eventually, and he just grows new ones in.
Do you keep them in like a bag at all?
Sometimes he sends them to me.
What if you actually catch him at a bad time though, where his nails just fell off, so they're short? How's he gonna scratch you? How's he gonna get you?
Oh, see, he wouldn't do that to me.
But someone else.
Because he's got like other implements. Like, he's got like tentacles or something.
Oh yeah, true. He's got like them ass tentacles or whatever.
So like he just uses that for most things actually. So he never told me. He never was like, hey, you need to kill your friend.
Yeah, no. Actually, you guys just talked about like Minecraft, didn't you?
Yeah, we were chopping it up. It was a good time.
Yeah.
He's a riot.
Yeah, no, I remember that's actually how we met. Was like, I had talked to Slenderman. He was like, hey, I met this guy Chris. Like, it's kind of cool.
He's a fellow innovator.
Bringing it full circle, baby. He's a fellow innovator, and we were just kind of like, all right, yeah. I mean, I'm down to hang with the innovators of today, and yeah.
Well, shifting to that topic, really quickly.
Innovators or Slenderman?
Creepypasta.
Oh, okay.
Looking at some of those like older, like really popular creepypastas and like reading them back makes you really disappointed at how shitty they were, like how poorly written they were.
Yeah, Jeff the Killer is still one that I thought was like, I was like, oh, it's kind of cool still, but
it was like the concept of it, I was like, at the time I was like, ooh, that's a little spooky, and then I went back and like read through it and I'm like, man, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
this is terribly written.
Yeah. What I like personally is there's a lot of YouTubers, like specifically the Jeff the Killer one. I've never read the original. There's a YouTuber I've watched, Dark Somnium, who does like storytelling pretty much. And he did a performance of it. So they do like sound effects and different actors and stuff like that. His is a little more, I don't want to say, sounds rude, but I don't want to say like low budget. He does his own music, but he's the only voice actor and occasionally his girlfriend, as opposed to some that have like entire teams.
Yeah.
I like those. Like those still sell it for me. Like even the Ben Drowned, like those still sell it when it's performed, but reading it, it's ass. In my opinion.
I recently reread fucking Squidward Suicide, that one.
Oh, I've never seen that one. Is it shit?
Oh man, it's so bad. It's like because I got a video on my recommended of a guy like he did like a tier list of all the remakes that people did of like the Red Mist or like Squidward Suicide episode, so to speak. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't really remember what happens in the story. I remember like the gist, but like let me just
Give it a
once over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this fucking sucks.
So
someone in 2012 was like, hey.
Can you give me the brief synopsis of Squidward
Oh,
Suicide?
all right. I'll give you the.
Because I haven't seen that. I haven't read this one, heard about it, seen it.
I'll give you the details.
Give me the fucking story spark or whatever.
So,
Spark story.
Nickelodeon, they made SpongeBob.
I think I've heard of it before.
Right, and the whole lore background here is that they were screening a new episode, and the episodes aren't finalized, so the title card is often just some joke that they put up, right? So they didn't flinch at the Squidward Suicide title card. And basically what happens is Squidward's playing a recital. He's doing a clarinet recital, and everyone in the audience is booing him. And even SpongeBob, his boy, is booing him.
Shit.
And then
it's like you booing me.
And then all of a sudden, they all have like red, and this was the trope of the time, red hyper-realistic eyes. And then Squidward goes home, and he cries for like several minutes, and then he kills himself. He fucking blows his brains out.
Is that actually how he does it? Yeah.
Yeah, the way it's written is that he shoots himself with a shotgun.
Yeah, it was kind of ass.
Someone in like 2012 was like, hey, you know, it'd be fun if we wrote a story about a lost episode of SpongeBob where Squidward shoots himself with a shotgun.
And I feel like you could do that, right, legitimately, and make it halfway decent, but that ain't it.
It's just so absurd and ridiculous.
Yeah.
That, no, just conceptually, I don't think it would work.
I don't think
it would work. You could write it in a different fashion, in a way that like, oh, he hangs himself. That's believable. But like, where's he gonna get a gun? That's never appeared. Bikini Bottom, that's never appeared in SpongeBob universe. That's not believable, and it's absurd. It's absurd, and the remakes of this are terrible as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That is a little ass. Yeah, I don't know. I was never super involved in the creepypasta fucking environment until high school. I met someone freshman year who was in it, and that's when I started to look into them, and I was like, oh, it's okay, it's cool. I only really know the two big ones, the Jeff the Killer and Ben Drowned, and those were okay. I prefer the performance adaptations, like I said, over the original material.
Yeah, that's how I consumed most of them. Was like I listened to a lot of them.
Yeah. The other thing too is a lot of them were just cringe. Like that Squidward one's kind of just cringe.
Yeah, a lot of them were just bad. But when you're like 12, you're like, oh, this is really spooky. Because I don't want to shit on the whole community, because there were a lot of good ones.
Well, didn't Slenderman start out as a creepypasta, I thought?
Yeah, but it was more so of like it was like a proto creepypasta kind of.
What does that mean?
It was like right before creepypastas really hit a stride. It was like right before that. So it kind of counts, but like the original story was just like a forum post.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. That's right. It was a forum post. Yep. Yeah, a lot of those actually derived from things like that and then got adapted. And yeah, Slenderman was one of those. They had a couple Slenderman games. The one I have on Steam, Slenderman The Arrival, that one was actually pretty good.
There's the original, Slenderman The 8 Pages. And that was like the absolute fucking stranglehold Five Nights at Freddy's had on the internet culture. That's what Slender was in 2012.
Yes.
Slender The 8 Pages was like every YouTuber was playing it, and
everyone was talking about it.
I was playing it.
I played it. I shit myself genuinely.
I thought it was scary because I was a child.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was 2012. Wasn't it?
It's not scary.
No.
Is the other thing. It's like,
just don't look at them.
And when I compare it to Five Nights at Freddy's, it's not just the stranglehold it had on like the internet gaming space. Mm-hmm. It's also the reactions that like these YouTubers would have to have. So
to get clits and shit.
Yeah, it would be like an adult man, and he's like, I know where my bread is buttered. I need to have a reaction to this, so I have a video today. And they'll put up, like, the fucking Slender Man shows up, and his face flashes up, and they go, ooh! Ah!
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's never scary.
Yeah, I will say Slender the Arrival, was actually a very good game. You can see, I was just pulling up the reviews to see. 6,300 reviews, all very positive. This game was actually, like, legitimately pretty fun, pretty scary, but it also told a story. It wasn't just running from Slenderman. Like, it had a full-on fucking story to it. And, yeah, I mean, that one was good. And it had more than Slenderman. There was other monsters, too.
I see.
He was just, like, the main guy.
And I saw, recently... Okay, I saw recently a video on TikTok of a guy playing Slender. Slender, the original Unity game, the 8 pages.
Yep.
The original one. For like a video. And it wasn't like from that time. It was from like now. What the fuck? That guy who's doing this gameplay he's probably the same age as us, so he was also 12 when the game blew up.
Yeah.
Have you not heard of it? Were you not expecting it to be the jump scare? Were you not expecting the jump scare, the infamous jump scare that existed?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're just getting old now.
Yeah, I think so. And to kind of circle back to our original context of horror games, like in general, like, you know, what would you do in a real situation? I think a lot more horror games nowadays benefit from more of the fear of what if and the sound design than they do from the actual scares, because there's only so many times that fucking FNAF bear can pop up on the screen and go, Rah!
Yeah, the fucking cartoon bear jumps out for the 463rd time. Yeah. Like, it gets boring.
Like, Blair Witch VR is the first horror game I've ever been able to actually play and beat. And part of it's due to the fact that it's not as scary in the sense of, like, there's not a lot of stuff jumping out at you, but what there is that has that game, and it really only works as well in VR. It probably doesn't I haven't really played it in depth on a PC, but it probably doesn't translate as well as it does in VR because you're there. But one of the best things about that game in VR was you're walking through the woods with a flashlight, which is already like a little spooky, a little bit, right? But to really help you suspend that disbelief of like, oh, it's just a game, they have like shit moving in the trees and rustling in the bushes, and that's the moments in the game that I was actually like, holy fuck, like I'm whipping a flashlight around, like holy fuck, what is that? And nothing happens, nothing really ever jumps out at you, but it's always just there. It's a presence.
I think generally like horror is moving away from. Because I think atmosphere does way more work than jump scares do.
100%.
But I think, like, every horror movie that's existed come out in the last, honestly, 10 years has just been, like, no payoff jump scares.
Yeah.
You know, someone's walking down a hallway, the music swells, and then scary face. Jump scare, and it doesn't create like a great sense of atmosphere, and that's what I like about projects like the Mandela Catalog or like Skinamarink that came out recently. Like, that's what I like about the movies, that movie and like that other project is like the atmosphere it creates. It creates this like unending sense of dread with like not a ton of payoff to be like, and now, the scary's over.
Yeah.
And then you know it's not going to be scary for a little while. It just continually has this feeling of like just dread.
Yeah.
For the whole scene or for the whole, movie in some cases.
And that is hard to do, but also, like, man, the payoff of just that alone, like, that small change is, like, fucking awesome. Like, again, that's what made the Blair Witch Oculus game recommendable for me, was just, like, it wasn't scary in the sense where I was like, fuck, here we go, another jump scare. Like, that was annoying. Because I get mad at jump scares in VR, I really do. I'm like, you're just taking advantage of the fact that the screen is strapped to my fucking face. Like, that's all you're doing with jump scares as far as I'm concerned. But, man, there was nothing like having the headphones on. And I didn't even use the Sonys. I couldn't imagine if it was with the Sonys, dude. Having the fucking headphones on and just, like, something so simple. Walking through the woods. You have this fucking dog with you. It's fucking, you're like, hey, boy, how's it going? And he's, like, there to kind of relieve the tension. And then all of a sudden, little things like his ears will perk up and he'll start looking and growling in a certain direction. You're like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck is that? And then, like, nothing happens. Like, the fucking spooky man doesn't come out of the woods, but you just hear shit. It's just, like, that sort of, like, spook, way better. Sells it way more to me.
Yeah, atmosphere does way more heavy lifting.
Yeah. Like, there's a reason that, honestly, playing Outlast today, the jump scares don't scare me, but I still get, like, a little, like, whoo, when I get, like, the creepy sort of, like, creeping around enemies. Like, where the fuck are they? Like, what's going on? You get the little bit of, like, the fear of being there. But the jump scares themselves, it's just a jump scare.
And if I remember right, that game's like pretty lacking with jump scares. Like
it's not bad.
They are there, but it's not. They don't exist as like this end point to, okay, this was the scary for this section.
No, that game is a lot more environment. Like, oh, you hear creepy fucking cell doors ricketing in the background and like shit like that, or like people stomping above you and then they like disappear and like, shit like that. But there was definitely, like, a handful of jump scares, like the first encounters with that fucking Billy, the big boy.
Yeah.
Like, there's encounters where he, like, grabs you and shit. Like, little things like that.
The first jump scare that they do, where, like, you open the door and there's, like, a body there.
Yeah.
And...
Oh, yeah, you pick up the fucking camera and it's right there. It's, like, right in front of your face. Yeah. There's, like, that. There's Billy. There's the fucking Scissorhands motherfucker. What's his name?
Dr. Bitch or something.
Yeah, Dr. Bitch Boy McGee over there. There's him. Like, there's a couple little jump scares here and there, but that game is more just like tension. Yeah, that's why I love Outlast. It's probably my favorite horror game, honestly. So
fair.
It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it does a lot of atmosphere work. I think another game that does that is Iron Lung. It's basically you're in a submarine on a planet that is covered entirely by an ocean of blood.
It's on Steam.
Yeah, and you're sealed away. You're like, the entrance and exit to this submarine is welded shut, and your only way of seeing outside the submarine is taking still pictures on a camera.
Huh.
So, and you're just trapped in the submarine the whole time.
This actually looks pretty cool.
And that creates like really good atmosphere where you're like, oh shit, something could be out there, and either A, I can't see it because the camera's not pointing at it, or B, I don't have time to see it because then it'll fucking destroy my submarine.
True. Yeah, no, this actually looks pretty cool. I may have to try it. It's playable on Steam Deck. The only issue is default controller configuration and sometimes mouse and keyboard.
It's a short game too. It's like an hour.
Yeah, that's what it says, and it's only $6. I may have to look into this because that sounds pretty cool. It looks like it was made by like a single guy because it's his name as the dev and publisher.
If I remember right, like it fucking shit happens in the submarine as well because you're going way below the depth you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Did you play it or did you watch someone play it?
I didn't play it. I just like watched some stuff, but I don't know like the ins and outs of the story.
Right.
Because I want to play it myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably pick that up.
But yeah, you kind of so shit happens in the submarine. You're like welded into the submarine.
It's claustrophobic as fuck. It even said it in the description. Like, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, occasionally like a line will burst or something, so it'll be like, and like alarms will start to go off.
Yeah, and it gives you that sort of like, oh fuck, what's going on?
Oh fuck, let me do something about this.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. No, yeah, I like little things like that, and I think also a lot of horror games work well in short bursts like that, like an hour-long game, not a fucking 16-hour game, because then eventually the tropes wear off. Even if you make a great ambiance. If nothing ever happens in a 16-hour game, eventually you're just like, oh. And then, you know, they could make something happen, which is like, oh, they subverted my expectation. They made me think it wouldn't happen for 5 hours, and then something did happen. But, like, I do think a lot of horror stuff just works really well in short bursts like that. Light Slender, the 8 pages back then, like, as shit as it is, it was a short game.
Yeah, you don't see a 40-hour horror game, you know?
Yeah, not unless it's an action horror game like a Resident Evil. Like, you get, like, 20 hours out of, like, you don't see the Red Dead 2 of horror games, you know? It just doesn't happen because...
It would be interesting if someone could pull it off, though.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Well, there's the new Silent Hill reboot remake thing that they're working on. That could be like a little bit longer. That could be like a 12-hour game. I don't know. Let's see. But yeah, 40 hours. Like if you could pull off a AAA length, like sort of massive scale horror game, that'd be kind of cool.
Because most horror games and most horror movies are like, let's put a person in a situation and they have to resolve that situation really quickly. And and the situation is littered with scary.
Yeah.
So it would have to be like a continual thing. Like, oh, they exist in this world that has this that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I always thought it'd be cool, like, you know, like 7 Days to Die, the whole point of that is you have 7 days, then, an invasion happens or whatever, like a horde. It'd be cool if there was some sort of horror game where, like, that was kind of the focus, was like, oh, every full moon something happens, so you have to, almost like Stardew Valley, right? You have to, like, manage a farm or, like, manage resources for 30 days, and then something scary happens you have to, like, withstand and survive. Like, I feel like that could be kind of cool.
Maybe.
But something like that. It'd have to be done by someone who knows what they're fucking doing, not me, but I think something like that cool, like, could happen. Like, you could totally adapt something like that. And if you use procedural generation, like, you could make it different every time to an extent, so... I don't know. I think it could be cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's all I got, Chris.
Yeah.
It's a nice little horror talk.
Yeah, horror game tangent.
Just horror in general, honestly. Creepypastas, books, games, movies. We've talked about a lot of horror stuff.
Yeah.
So, anything else you got?
No.
You're clocking out? Fucking punching the card?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it. So, as always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify, Pocket Cast, and the RSS feed, all linked below. Contact us via email, synapsemisfire@pm.me. Send us your comments, your questions, your concerns, and, of course, most importantly, your death threats. You also have a YouTube comment section and Instagram and TikTok. And as I mentioned before, they may be revitalized by the time you're hearing this. I don't know yet, but stay tuned. Stay tuned. Okay, bye.